The way he's parked is legal. The way you were parked when I showed up was not.
A routine stop, or was it?
So I need to see your driver's license so I can issue a citation for blocking the roadway.
The officer had his reason ready.
I didn't block the roadway.
Yes, you did. I saw you when listen.
He didn't argue. He disagreed. Then came the first door, and then the second.
Hey, I'm investigating a traffic crime. You do not have the right to do that. You're detained.
The officer didn't stop there. He opened them both, uninvited.
You are detained.
Come in my house.
You are detained.
For what?
For the traffic violation I observed. I need to see your license.
For a traffic violation.
Even the man couldn't believe it.
Yes, I am. Open the door.
The cop doubled down.
You're detained. Come here.
At what point did a simple ticket become a constitutional question? Let's take a closer look at what actually happened here.
Good evening.
What's going on?
On an ordinary evening in a quiet cul-de-sac on West Quincy, a man was finishing a lawn job. He had his equipment out. He had his phone recording. He had done what any careful worker does, left enough room for people to get around him. He was almost done. He would not finish that lawn. What started as a complaint about parking, the kind of call officers say they handle every single day, would end with a man in handcuffs, dragged out of his own home, charged with resisting an arrest that should never have happened. And it would end with a police chief going on camera the very next day to say, "We got this wrong."
Officers responded to a parking violation complaint.
But to understand how a parking complaint became a constitutional violation, you have to understand everything that was happening before the camera found that front door. The call that came in was a parking violation complaint. A neighbor unhappy about where a lawn worker had parked his truck and trailer on the 1200 block of West Quincy. Officers responded, as they do. When they arrived, they found Mr. Nunley, the lawn worker, still on the job. And here is where the story immediately becomes more complicated than a simple parking dispute. Because when the officers started talking to Mr. Nunley, what they heard was not a man who had done something wrong. What they heard was a man who had been assaulted.
Right in the chest. He jabbed you in the chest?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Nunley told officers that before he had even made his first pass with the mower, his neighbor, a man named Richard McMahon, had come storming out of his home, cursing at him, screaming about the parking, and then physically jabbed a finger directly into his chest. That detail matters, because at this point, the nature of the call has quietly shifted. This is no longer purely a parking dispute. An allegation of assault and battery has been made, and Mr. Nunley, to his credit, showed remarkable restraint, telling officers he would drop the charges if McMahon would simply let things go.
Do you want to press charges for the assault and battery?
Is he still being good? What? I really don't want to, but...
Okay.
Now, was Mr. Nunley's parking actually illegal? The officers debated this themselves at length, and their own conversation is revealing.
I haven't quite determined what we want to do yet. So I get here and he's got his little four-door car blocking the entire cul-de-sac so that he can't leave.
One officer said, "To me, as a patrol officer, that's fine. Where else are you going to park it?" Another was checking the municipal code. The rule requires that a vehicle leave at least 10 feet of roadway width free for traffic movement. They got out a measuring wheel. Their conclusion? The trailer was not in violation. Here is the key legal point. Probable cause is the standard required before an officer can detain or arrest someone. Probable cause means a reasonable belief, based on specific and articulable facts, that a crime has been committed. If the officers themselves were unsure whether any law had been broken, and the measurement suggested it had not, then the legal foundation for any enforcement action was already shaky.
Hello. How are you?
Man, I'm just going to say, Richard, he's a fucking prick. He's always doing stuff like this. This guy's just trying to work, cut yards, and, he does stuff like this all the time.
Oh, I'm very familiar with
I'm
Mr.
sure you
Man.
are,
Yeah.
Meanwhile, a neighbor who witnessed the whole situation walked over unprompted and told officers exactly what kind of person Richard McMahon was, that he had conflict with everyone in the cul-de-sac, that this kind of behavior was routine, that Richard had even blocked the entire road to trap Mr. Nunley in after the argument began. Even a resident at an Airbnb rental nearby noted they were only there for 2 days and still had a story about McMahon.
Back up.
I need to know your first name.
That's a sad part, right?
At this point, the picture is clear. The actual problem in this cul-de-sac was not the man cutting grass. This is the part of the video that most commentary will gloss over, but it is arguably the most important part. While the uniformed officers discussed the situation among themselves, their conversation drifted into territory that tells us a great deal about how they understood this neighborhood and this complaint. They discussed McMahon's history of calling police on his neighbors. They mentioned that one of his ongoing conflicts with a nearby resident was, in one officer's words, kind of race-related. They were aware of restraining orders, of ongoing harassment, of a man who made himself a recurring presence in their call logs. One officer said plainly, "It would bring me great pleasure if we could take Richard McMahon to jail tonight."
Yeah, so it would bring me great pleasure if we could take Richard McMahon to jail tonight.
Let that sit for a moment. The officers knew McMahon was the aggressor. They knew his parking complaint was questionable. They knew he had physically confronted Mr. Nunley. They were explicitly trying to find a traffic charge to use against McMahon. And yet, within minutes, they would go to McMahon's door, and the situation would end with Mr. Nunley in handcuffs. How does that happen? The answer lies in what happened when that front door opened.
Hello. Just want to let you know that the trailer is legally parked.
The officers knocked on Richard McMahon's door. He opened it, looked out, and immediately closed it again. He knew what was coming, and he chose not to engage. Here is the first critical legal moment. A person inside their own home is in the most protected space in American constitutional law. The Fourth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution guarantees the right of people to be secure in their homes against unreasonable searches and seizures. The Supreme Court has repeatedly affirmed that a home is the most protected space from government intrusion. An officer cannot enter a home without either a warrant, consent from the occupant, or what the law calls exigent circumstances, meaning an urgent situation like an active emergency, someone in danger, or a suspect fleeing. Closing your door is not an emergency. It is a right. McMahon closed his door. The officers could not legally follow him inside, not for a parking violation, not without a warrant, not without his consent. From the officer's perspective, he was in the middle of an active investigation, a subject was refusing to cooperate, and he had a legal obligation to pursue what he believed was a traffic violation. Closing a door during a lawful investigative stop, he might argue, obstructs the process. From McMahon's perspective, a police officer showed up at his door in the evening, told him the other guy's truck was parked legally, and in the same sentence tried to issue him a citation. Whether right or wrong about the parking, McMahon likely felt he was being targeted, and he did what any person has an absolute right to do in their own home. He closed the door. The law is unambiguous here. You have no obligation to answer your door for police unless they have a warrant. Closing your door is not obstruction. It is not a crime. It is, in fact, a constitutionally protected act. What happened next is where this story stops being about a parking complaint and becomes something else entirely. The officer moved quickly to the door.
Hey! I'm investigating a traffic crime. You do not have the right to do that. You are detained. You are detained.
Now the man was pushing back from inside. "Come in my house?" 3 words carrying all the shock and disbelief of a person who cannot process what is happening. A police officer just pushed into his home over a parking ticket.
You are detained.
And when McMahon asked detained for what, the officer's answer was, "For the traffic violation I observed." This is the second critical legal moment, and it is the heart of this entire incident. The law on detention is specific. A foundational Supreme Court ruling. Police may briefly detain a person, what is called a Terry stop, if they have reasonable suspicion that a crime has been or is being committed. However, this applies in public spaces. Forcing entry into a private home to effectuate a detention for a minor traffic infraction, without a warrant, without exigent circumstances, and without consent, is a profound constitutional violation. There was no emergency. There was no fleeing suspect. There was a man in his kitchen who had closed his front door. The officer declared the detention first and manufactured the justification second, and that sequence matters enormously, both legally and ethically.
You're detained. Come here. You are under arrest. You are under arrest.
5 of you.
Yep, you are under arrest.
What followed was a rapid physical escalation. Additional officers entered. McMahon was taken to the ground. He was charged with resisting arrest, obstruction, and the original parking violation, At one point, an officer noted that blood had been drawn, and the conversation shifted to how to document the use of force in their reports. McMahon, who had called the police in the first place, left his home in handcuffs. If you are ever in a situation like this, you have the right to remain silent. You have the right to refuse entry to your home without a warrant. You do not have to answer the door. If an officer forces entry anyway, do not physically resist. Assert your rights calmly and verbally, and contest the legality in court. Resisting physically, even an unlawful detention, can result in additional charges that will complicate your legal defense. Say clearly, "I do not consent to this." Say it on camera if possible. Then, comply with the physical demands while preserving every legal objection for later.
I'm Chief Brandon Berryhill, the Broken Arrow Police Department. On May 29th, in the 1200 block of West Quincy, officers responded to a parking violation complaint.
The story did not end at the door. Internal review systems within the police department flagged the arrest. Chief Brandon Berryhill reviewed the footage, and the next morning, he went on camera. He ordered the immediate release of the homeowner. He placed the arresting officer on administrative leave. He announced an internal affairs investigation.
During the investigation, it was later deemed to be a disturbance. As a result, a homeowner in the area was arrested. Internal review systems alerted my office of the issue, and I ordered the immediate release of the homeowner. The officer in question has been placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of the internal affairs investigation.
These are not small things. Police chiefs do not typically move this quickly or this publicly unless the footage is unambiguous, and in this case, it was. The chief's statement is careful and professional, but what it communicates between the lines is direct. Someone under his command made a serious mistake, and the department is not going to pretend otherwise. The law on police accountability is worth understanding here. Police departments are required by departmental policy, and in many jurisdictions by state law, to investigate conduct that may violate constitutional rights or departmental procedure. Internal affairs investigations are the internal mechanism for this. However, independent civilian oversight boards are a separate and increasingly common structure designed to ensure that officers are not simply investigated by colleagues. Whether Broken Arrow, Oklahoma employs such oversight is a question worth asking, because as this case shows, internal review can work, but it should not be the only safeguard. The fact that the system caught this is reassuring. The fact that it happened at all is not. Mr. Nunley finished his lawn. Eventually, not that evening. He went home with no charges, no citation, and a story that most lawn workers working in America's residential neighborhoods would rather not think about, because the only thing unusual about this encounter was that it was filmed, reviewed, and corrected. Most are not. Richard McMahon, the man who called the police, the man who jabbed a finger into a worker's chest and blocked a cul-de-sac with his car, walked away from that evening without any charges. The officers who were so motivated to find a violation to pin on him found nothing that would hold up. He got exactly what he had wanted from the beginning: the lawn worker gone, the cul-de-saciette, and the mess someone else's problem. Whether that feels like justice depends on which part of the story you are watching. Here is the one thing that doesn't get said enough in conversations about this video. The officers on scene knew, before they ever went to that door, that Richard McMahon was likely the person in the wrong. They had the measurement. They had the witnesses. They had the assault allegation. They were actively discussing what charge they could use against him. And yet, the moment McMahon closed a door he had every legal right to close, the energy of the entire encounter flipped. The man doing nothing wrong left in handcuffs. The man everyone agreed was the problem went back inside and stayed there. Ask yourself why a closed door felt like provocation. Ask yourself what it means that you are detained was said before anyone could explain what law had been broken. Ask yourself what would have happened if the internal review system hadn't flagged this, if the body camera footage had simply been filed, and Mr. McMahon had been left to fight 3 charges in court on his own. The chief did the right thing. The system eventually worked. But for the man standing in his own hallway, watching a police officer push his door open, it had already stopped being about parking several seconds before any of that mattered. Sometimes, the law moves faster than justice. And sometimes, the only difference between an incident and a story is whether someone was recording.